Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Tom Stewart here. I'm with Liz Trotter, and this is Smart Business Moves. And our guest today is Royce Ard. Hello, Royce. How are you today?
Hey, Tom. Hey, Liz.
Hey, Royce.
This is awesome. Royce is going to be sharing with us basically automation tricks, hacks, techniques for our house cleaning service, and more from a strategic standpoint. It's coming. I mean, it's been obvious for a long time that technology is a bigger and bigger part of what we're doing to run our business. So appreciate you being here and helping us out, Royce.
Yeah, I'm glad to do it. It's we were talking about when we were off the air there that everyone brings everyone looks at this business through the lens that they got brought up in, right? So if you came up into the business as a cleaner, then you probably are going to know everything there is about cleaning. You're gonna know all kinds of stuff. And I came up more on the technology side, so I tend to look at the operational functions and how to scale a business, and how to automate as much of it as we can, so that we can run thin. I came up in an industry that we had to do a lot with a little. So we always tried to find tools that would do it for us if we could.
I gotta say, Royce, there's not very many things after all these years that I feel like are brand new that I've never heard anyone say. I might not absorb everything all the time, but brand new, I haven't heard until today. That brand new, what you just said, that how people are introduced to this industry is probably where their strengths lie and what they know the most about. I mean, that seems so obvious, but nobody's ever said that to my ear before. I'm sure I probably heard something similar somewhere, but that really struck me that is really, really what we see. And I really love that really strong perspective there.
Yeah, I mean, just the three people on this screen, we all come at this business from a different direction, and while they're very similar, they all have their differences, and everyone has their strengths. And so, I think that is probably the most interesting part of this business, in this industry, is that rarely do we compete with each other, and so it's a very collegial business. And I can ask you a question about how to manage folks. Liz, I mean, you don't know what my secret word is for you, but I call you the Maid Whisperer.
And we're not the only one. I've heard it before.
That's what I always say. So I got this video from the Maid Whisperer, and then Tom, has done a lot of work, and I know everybody has a hand in it, but on automation and systemizing parts of the business, and like you say, you're a software writer, so you understand the reasons and the whys and why-tos of making sure you do the same thing the same way every time if you can. So the nice thing is everybody's willing to share their experiences, and it just makes us all better business owners and operators, I think.
Absolutely. So I have to tell you, Tom, I don't even think Tom knows this, but you said that you think of me as the Maid Whisperer. So Tom probably doesn't think of himself this way, but I think of him as my money man. He's like, why? Because I'm like, come on, Tom. He's always focused on, how much money are we going to make? We got to be cleaning some stuff. We got to be making money. And I know he does more around the numbers and operations and that kind of stuff. But in my mind, money man.
Well, that's an interesting, we were talking a little bit earlier, about the cable TV business. So, and this business is so similar to that business, and the fact that it's all recurring revenue. You're working in people's homes. It's all about scheduling. It's all about efficiencies. And, instead of installing a cable box, you're, cleaning their house. And one of the things that I think is really important to recognize, and this sounds like a Thomism probably, is, a lost appointment is lost revenue that you'll never get back. Okay. So if you don't do that job today, you can't do it again tomorrow, because you can do another job tomorrow, but you can't do that job today, tomorrow. And I think it really helps to understand that you have to run your business in your schedule very efficiently, because lost opportunities like that cannot be made up. I mean, all you can do is just, do better tomorrow.
Yeah, it's interesting. Before we get started, maybe you could share a little bit about your background, Royce. What
So at the core, I'm a sales and marketing guy. My first job out of college was selling law books door to door. Okay, so to accounting firms primarily. So I had that basis as my experience. And then I wanted to get into the tech industry. So I started, looking for jobs that were more technical in nature, and eventually became a general manager of a German company that built emission analyzers. And so I operated their North American office. And then I got into the cable TV business. I didn't even watch cable TV, and it's just not a big thing. I'd much rather read, the news. And so I got into this business, and I was there for a long time. I was there 12 years. Prior to that, my wife was always concerned that I couldn't keep a job. So today I was a millennial before there were millennials. But you know what? I was growing each time, because I would do a certain job and I would learn about that. And then I would go to something else and I'd get some more skills, and all those build on each other, so that eventually I found the right job, which was a general manager job that was heavily focused on sales and marketing, but also would give me operational experience. And so I was there for a long time, and I eventually was promoted to the vice president of sales and marketing. And it was a company that when I got here, and actually, the company, Tom, we operate there. It was Knology. So it's now Wow.
So Wow. We're clients they provide fiber optics to our office.
Yeah. So I was a VP of sales and marketing there.
I have an umbrella that says Knology on it. You may have,
those were great umbrellas, by the way. I used to
they're awesome. It's a golf umbrella.
Nice and big, yeah. See, so that company, when I got here in 2000, we went through bankruptcy. So we were worth zero. When you go bankrupt, you're worth zero. And I guess 12 years later, we sold it for $1.5 billion. So you go through a lot of pain, and you go through a lot of growth to build a company from zero to $1.5 billion.
Yeah. Boy, that just sounds like more than my poor little brain can even comprehend. So that does sound huge.
It's just different, it doesn't make it better or not. And matter of fact, if I were to trade off, if somebody would have said, hey, you know what, you can have this cleaning business or you can go work in this corporate environment, I would much rather, knowing what I know now, I would much rather be an entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. I always had that spirit. And the reason that worked out so well there is we ran those divisions very entrepreneurially. So this was like my business. So I had a lot of flexibility on things I could do to grow the business.
So it seems like the Wow acquisition, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, 3 years ago. I don't know.
8 years ago now.
No.
Yeah.
Oh. Tom, how many times does this happen to us? Oh my goodness.
Too often.
I know.
Hey, you remember those dates when that's the day you walk out because they say, "Oh, you're done." Oh, thank you very much.
Yeah, I'm sure that particular date is solid in your mind, but there's way too many times that we're talking about something and Liz and I, it's like, well, it was a couple of years ago, and like, I'll find the document, and it's like the pages have turned yellow, and it's like, a dozen years old. And
yeah. The nice thing about moving up in a company like that is you get stock options and all that cool stuff. The bad thing is, on the day it's sold, that's your day. That's the day that it's over.
No doubt about that.
But you have a lot of you had a lot of professional experience at that point in time, and you could have done a lot of different things. So what all did you consider at that point, and what led you to make the decisions that you made?
So So I'm in Columbus, Georgia, right? And Columbus is a market like Charleston. Actually, Charleston's probably better. I mean, I know it's a better market in a lot of respects, because you have Boeing and you have some things like that there. I knew, because of the timing on this, that and where my kids were in school, that by the time the company got sold, I would have a kid in high school. And so it would not be, I didn't want to move at that point in time. So we actually started, BRAC was going on. You know what BRAC is, I'm sure. Base realignment commission or something. And we were going to have all these new people coming into town. So we're Charleston's a Navy town. We're an Army town. And what they ended up doing was combining the tanks, people with inventory and infantry people. So we had all these new people coming to town. We knew that there was going to be all this work and all these different things with homes. And so I talked Tamara into starting a handyman business. And we ran that business for 11 years. So when I left Knology, I did some consulting for a while. And actually, I didn't talk about this, but this was the coolest company that I've ever worked for. After I left there, I became the VP of marketing for a company that was all into the Internet of Things, and basically machines talk to machines. Mm-hmm. And they had developed a chip that contained an operating system to communicate. And it was like a mesh-based system. It was really cool. And so I did that for a while, but it was in Huntsville, and I didn't want to move because I still had my son was a senior. So eventually I said, we started the maid service after we had a little extra capital, and eventually Tamara said, I cannot do all of this. If you're not super happy where you're at, there's a place here. You need to, start working here. So at that point in time, I think we were up to about $9,000 a month of revenue, recurring revenue in the maid business. And the handyman business was doing about maybe like $600,000 a year. I mean, it was a pretty decent, size. And then these are smaller markets, so you're not going to have like, huge, big, there's a lot of competition in that. So anyway, and when I say that, $600,000 is like labor, $600,000 of labor. So I decided to come back and see what I thought about it. And, I mean, I was commuting, I was here all the time, but, the more I looked at it, the more I liked it. I liked the fact that the revenue streams were predictable. I liked the fact that, it's recurring revenue. I understood recurring revenue. I understood bundling. I mean, we actually had when we were just getting started, if you were a maid customer, then every quarter you could have an hour of handyman service for free. If you were one of our top level, like a bi-weekly maid customer. And it was great because, a hour of handyman service at the time cost us about $15. It was worth like 85 or $100. I mean, depending on what you're doing. So, you're giving somebody $15 worth, of services for $100 worth of value. We figured it would help make those customers sticky. And that's how we grew the business. And then at some point in time, we said, man, I really like this recurring revenue a lot. And we had somebody that we could sell the handyman business to. So we sold that in 2017.
Wow. And so you're still located in Columbus, Georgia?
We are at the present time. The reason my office looks different, Liz, on this call than the last call is we have we've done a lot as far as post COVID, as far as managing our business differently than we were doing it before, and basically we haven't been in the office since March, really. And what we realized is our cleaners don't know if I'm in Columbus, Georgia, or if I'm in the Georgia mountains, or if I'm in somewhere else. And so we're actually trying to get our house ready to sell. So our big thing is we're going to purchase a nice RV, and we're going to hit the road for about a year and just run this whole thing remotely and take a golden year, as they say, off the back end. We're going to move it up a few years.
I love that. That sounds awesome, Royce. That is amazing. Tom, you're not in the office anymore either, are you? Really?
Not much. I mean, I'm at home now, and I don't know. I go in a couple times a month, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I used to go in and we have a few customers that pay us by check, and I was like, why do I go do this deposit? I just ordered some pre-printed deposit slips and dropped them off and said, I need you to take it to the bank when you get some checks. So I mean, it's not easy. I mean, it's because we ran, our whole thing was, again, you sort of know the age of my kids. I had a child in college, and Georgia Tech is a pretty expensive school, and they can't really work a job while they're in there, so you're fronting it. So what we ended up doing is I was like, we can hire a manager, or we can try to run this thing very thin and use that money to pay for college. So that's what we did. We just didn't have any management. I mean, we ran our business all the way up to about 700,000 of revenue, just Tamara and I in the office, and we didn't have a field service manager. We didn't have anybody, but we built good systems, and we built good training, and we have I think a pretty decent system for paying people that make them want to do a good job. But we've migrated away from that a little bit. Now we have a field service manager who eventually be like a operations manager or general manager, depending on what we're doing. And she's running the day-to-day stuff now.
That creates the opportunity to hop in the RV and go somewhere.
Yeah. So I mean, we didn't even have a customer service person. I mean, it was just Tamara and I.
So you grew the business to, did you say 700,000?
Yeah.
With just the two of you? I mean,
Yeah.
That's awesome. So you wouldn't have been able to do that without leveraging technology. Automations was part of that.
Absolutely. I mean, normally when I talk to a cleaning service, if they're at work, their phone is just ringing. Well, phone calls in the cable business they're fine. I mean, if you have to deal with something, you need to deal with it. But we look at the cost. I mean, they could tell you a phone call costs $3.50. I mean, they know in a call center what a phone call costs. And so maybe 3 years ago, I was actually at the RC show, and somebody was talking about how text messaging was bad. Well, I was like, that's the only way my kids communicate. I have a whole. This is another one of my sayings is, you want to get in front of success. You want success to run over you. That's how you become successful. It's not, don't fight it, right? Position yourself so that you're going to be successful. And I'm thinking texting is where it's at. So, so I looked and I said, obviously you don't want to text from a phone. And so I went out and I researched and I found some texting software that was business class, texting software. And we moved all of our customer service to texting. So, I mean, some of my favorite technology companies, it's all on chat. And I think this is the consumer equivalent of chat. So, so our phone does not ring all day. We get maybe 14 calls a day. We do all of our booking is, almost all of it's done online. You just like you guys, you can get a price and you can book the job, online without talking to anybody. And so between those two things, that really saved us a lot in terms of, the kind of day-to-day things that people typically hire somebody for.
What's the URL to your company website?
It's myamazingmaid.com.
I know another company that is, I mean, it's just Amazing Maids. Can't remember who it is.
They're up in, that's Julia. Up in where's she at? In the Northeast.
I don't remember. I think Denise is Amazing Maids too, isn't she? In Portland.
I think she may be.
Yeah, maybe.
I'm laughing at myself. When I typed it the first time, I typed it's myamazingmaid.com.
Who's that?
Okay, we're laughing at you too, Tom.
Yeah. Am I at the right place, Royce?
Yeah, you're in the right place. You just have to exile for a reason thing.
So I can do.
You can just hit it right there.
Here.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you just enter some information, and really, you know, we do all of our pricing based on square footage. You know, we were looking, when we used to do the same thing a lot of people do. We went out and, you know, looked at every house and all that. And it took a little while to sell everybody on it. But I was like, you know, we developed a model that this worked really well with. And so, you know, we want to know how many bedrooms you have. We want to know how many dogs you have. We want to know all that stuff. But the price is generated by square foot.
I noticed you're using Nice Job. They popped up down there. I know a lot of people are jumping on that. Is that working well for you?
As far as Nice Job, or the little widget down at the bottom? Because the
widget linked to Nice Job, I believe.
Yeah, the widget's free, and somehow I don't know exactly what all it would do if you don't have Nice Job, but they'll give you that widget. I think they work independently, but you know, Nice Job has worked really well because it's an automated system for, you know, getting Google reviews, and you can't really downplay how important Google reviews are in our business. I mean, they're super important. And so they make sure that we get reviews on a consistent basis. But I also hack it every once in a while. So like, you know, one of the thoughts I had was, you know, after, you know, in the midst of COVID, you know, when I was thinking about, gosh, you know, we lost 40% of our business overnight, like a lot of people. And I started thinking, you know, the 60% that are still here, they really, really love us. These are probably our best customers. And so, so I just put together a text, because I use this business class texting service. And I put together a text, and I sort of hacked the way Nice Job works. And I said, hey, I would love to have a review, you know, from Google, because it really, as we open our business back up, which we never closed, but, you know, as we open our business back up, you know, we could really use, you know, people count on reviews like this. And we got 41 Google reviews overnight. So, so it's a great platform for that kind of stuff. I mean, it's, I used to do some of that, you know, just homegrown, and it worked okay. But I mean, this works better.
Yeah.
There's a lot of ways I think you can do it.
So as far as automations go in your maid service, what are some of the big ones that you're doing that you think that are creating the most value for you?
So a lot of what we've done, you know, I focus a lot on customer service. I mean, because, and I think this is important to talk about when you talk about technology in business. This is something that we learned a lot in the cable business, is a technology advantage in your business is a temporary advantage. Okay. Because anybody can go buy that same technology. So, so when you, like, you know, when we first started using a field service management software, yes, that gives us an advantage that anybody with $200 a month can go get, you know. So you really have to focus on customer service or cleaning or whatever you are going to make your niche. That's much harder. That's a much better platform to compete on. Technology is a great thing to differentiate yourself temporarily, but eventually the market catches up. So, so one of the things that we have really automated is we've taken all of our text. I mean, any communication with us, all comes into a ticketing system now. And then we work off that ticketing system. And basically, if you are our CSR, you sit there in front of a screen, and the things that you need to do come to you. You don't have to go out and search for them.
It's being pushed. And the tickets, are they created through some type of automation, or is there?
Yeah. So so we use probably 6 or 7 different pieces of software. So all of those things are generating tickets during the day. So, like, for instance, let's say you get an online quote, right? And you choose which package you want. You know, we do good, better, best type packaging. So you choose which package you want, but you don't book it. So basically the old open, you know, shopping cart kind of scenario. So you can tell a CSR, hey, we want to make sure we call all of those people, right? And because that's somebody who they liked you good enough to pick a package, they just didn't book it for whatever reason. And maybe they looked at your schedule and they said, you don't have the appointment I need. So something like that would create a message for the CSR to call, and then we're able to manage it because we're able to look and make sure that call was done, because it opens a ticket. And then once the ticket's open, then you can do things with it.
Well, that's actually one of the things that I know people really love about Maid Central, Tom, is that those tickets open up. And so they can just stick something in front of a computer, and it turns what used to be a real heavy thinking job into a task job.
That's the only way you can scale. You have to, I mean, just look at, a fast food place. I mean, if you take away all the different combinations of ordering food and you turn it into icons that anybody can say, I want that picture of that. First of all, you become, it makes it very easy to hire people, but eventually you are able to have kiosks, which is what you see a lot in Europe. And you see now where you can go order your own food. Right. And so I always try to look, and we talked about this, Liz, too. I like to look at what other industries are doing and sort of think about it and say, could we do that in our industry? Mm-hmm. And that's, I think, how you come up with some interesting things.
And we can do it in our industry. It's just a matter of how, whatever it is.
Yeah.
How does it relate? How does it play in our industry? But
and also, one of the significant changes in the software industry over the years is going from server-based software to the software as a service, methodology, because something where it used to cost, a good piece of software may cost, $5,000 or $6,000. Now you just pay for it by the month, and you typically are paying for it by the user or by the transaction. And so, as just going back to the cable TV analogy, we had something just like field service management software. We paid $1 million to develop it. Okay. You can get the same software for $250 a month, right. Because they sell it to so many different people. So, that's a good, way of looking at it. But, you could always go out and find software that'll do what you want to do if you have the time and understand, like something like Zapier, so you can make them communicate with each other and hook them together.
So I guess part of the whole transition from server, client server based solutions to cloud based solutions is, what you can do with mobile devices.
Exactly.
That's so huge in field service in general. I know it had to be for you guys in the cable industry, and obviously in house cleaning it is as well. How are you using mobile technology as part of your automation strategy?
So, our field service management software that we use obviously has an app that we use, and so that's they all of our timekeeping and everything is done through the app. This is anything, again, in 2014, this was probably fancy. Now this is, table stakes, right? But, the big thing is, you can go in and look and see how long they, it takes to work a job or whatever. We let, and I think this is an important thing, is no matter which field service management software or no matter which software you buy, it's not going to line up 100% with your business model. There's always going to be things that have to change. And I think it's important for folks to realize, don't go out and create a bunch of workarounds, change your model. And if the software requires too large a model change, it's probably not the right software for you.
Royce, I could hug you at this point. That is worth the price of admission. I have this discussion on a more regular basis than what I would want to admit. And the people
it's very prevalent. But again, what you can do when you have 3 technicians in the field versus, 150, like in the cable business, they're totally different. You have to let the software manage the business. And so that's what people, I mean, that's one of the things that drag people down. And it's also one of the things that it's why you see a lot of cost in the cleaning business. I'm not anti customer service people. Okay. I mean, what I am anti is that people have to call you. So if you can automate or you can eliminate, really is what I'm about, eliminate the reason to call you, then that person who does call you, you got plenty of time to talk to them. So you're able to.
Good point.
That's really what I'm trying to do. So for instance, online scheduling. First of all, I mean, there's no need for most people to have to call you to schedule a cleaning appointment, right? There's software that'll help you do it.
Okay, so I got to stop you, Royce.
Okay.
Because I am hearing the 9,000 people out there that are arguing in their heads right now. Yeah, but you don't understand. In my business, blah, blah, blah.
My business is different. You don't understand.
Yeah, so and we agree with you. Tom and I both agree with you. You're right. But how do we help those people that are stuck with the you don't understand? How do we help them get over that little hump there?
You know what? You can be that person, right? If you want to have that company, let's talk about something that everybody understands, which is a restaurant, right? I mean, and not how a restaurant operates, but how restaurants fit in. You can go to a restaurant that's got 6 tables and give you an incredible customer service experience. And it's going to be expensive, right? You're going to pay for that. If you want to be that cleaning business, perfect. You can make good money at it. You can provide customer service for folks. A certain part of the market will love it. There's also a restaurant that seats 200. Go to Walt Disney World. I don't know how many of those seat. Okay. But they are there's systems in place, right? And the customer service experience is not necessarily poor. It's just very different. And so a lot more of it is done through systems or for whatever. It's been a while since I've been at Disney World. I'm sure a lot of it's even automated now. And that business is able to scale, but you can't probably have both. You can't have a custom business that you can scale easily.
All right. So that is
you got to know where you are in the market. Now,
conversation.
I'll say something else about that. Okay. Yeah. And let's look at retail as an example. So if you have Walmart down on the bottom, which is a low price, low customer service business, and you have the little local boutique, which is low volume, super high customer service business, right? And then in the middle, you have companies like Montgomery Ward, JCPenney's, Sears, that can't make up their mind where they're going to be. And that area is death in the retail space. Okay. And in any of these spaces, I forget, I shouldn't even say this. Tom comes from this industry, but
from pennies.
They were solvent when I was there, but
But you know what I mean? I mean, the things change. Right. So there was a time that was okay. I mean, but that's not where we are now. So apply that to our business. You can be Walmart. Mark Baker. I mean, God, I love he has turned his business model completely on its ear. And he's not Walmart. I mean, but he's a high volume business. That's what his business is based on, high volume. And it's a different margin than we operate with. Most of us need to look more like a boutique, at least, less volume, more customer service. Now you can tweak that some, and provide, there's pieces of it you can still offer as systems, but I think we all need to be a little bit more expensive than cheap.
Yeah. with a cost of goods sold that is, 50% of revenue, give or take. I mean, Mark,
Right. But,
like at 80%. And it's like, wow.
right. I mean, it's a different model. It's an incredible model that he's building, right? But what he's doing, I mean, I hate to speak for Mark because Mark's not here. Maybe if you don't like me talking, Mark, just pipe in. But Mark's building. I mean, he's following. I didn't even mention this to him, but his is more like an Amazon model, right? He's going to sell books at cost because he's going to sell you dog walking and poop, scooping and all these other things that that he's going to get margin on, And so there's nothing wrong with that model.
Yeah. I don't know. It seems to have been working for Amazon pretty well.
Yeah, it seems to be working okay with those guys.
They might make it.
They might make it. So I mean, there's different models out there, and I think
Absolutely.
It's really helpful to look at all these other different industries and figure out, and really try to break them down into what the model looks like, and then say, okay, what does my cleaning business look like? First time I ever talked with Mark of any time, I came back and got the spreadsheets out and started saying, okay, how can I make my business look like that? But still maintain the parts of my business that I want to do. And
what you love.
And there's things you can do. I mean, there's things that you can do like that. It can help you grow incredibly quickly. I mean, that's what he's doing. So I mean, I love Mark. I mean, Mark is really, it's so nice to see somebody, and again, his lens that he looks at this business through is a completely different lens. And
y'all have a mutual admiration society thing going on here because he loves you too. He pointed that out to us.
Because I sent him some beer. I mean, it's real basic. No, I'll tell you something about that. So I used to always say, really the business that I want to do is I want to offer this Amazon-like experience. That's really what I tell people all the time. Now I forget the name of the brewery that he uses or that's in his area. But I was like, that's the business I want, because I literally went online. I bought him like 24 beers or 12 beers. I can't remember what it was. And in 2 hours, somebody showed up at his office and delivered them. I mean, wow. And
awesome.
And he's on a little freaking rock off the coast of Canada, and I'm sitting down here in Georgia. I don't even speak Canadian, but it was pretty incredible from a customer experience standpoint. I was just super impressed.
Yeah, that is super impressive. I love that too. All right, so Royce, have you ever read the book Blue Ocean? I think, is that it, Tom? Just Blue Ocean or Blue Ocean Strategy?
No, I don't believe I have.
Well, you have to. I bet you would love that book. You would absolutely love that book. But one of the ideas from this book is about how there used to be a thing called a circus. There's still a thing called a circus, right? But back in the day, a circus was, it was a local event. Everybody went there. It was sawdust. They came into town. They left. You paid $5 for a ticket. You took your whole family. There were lions and tigers and bears. Oh my, clowns. And, it was, Blue Ocean Strategy. They charge like $5 a person. And then the Blue Ocean Strategy around that was, Cirque du Soleil, where they're charging now $150 to go to the circus. It's harder to get there. People dress up, but it's still the same circus experience, just boom, expanded with a little bit of dance thrown in and costumes, right? But it's the same thing. It's the circus on its axis. And so I'm always looking for, or trying to think of, what is the Blue Ocean Strategy for our industry. And there are a lot of different things going on with it right now, but nobody has really captured that new thing yet. It's not quite there yet.
I think that way too, is how, and I sort of look at, so I'm 55. So, I'm looking at this as like, what I've got our business working okay. So it's doing fine. So what can we do next that is cool and interesting and, builds on things that we know? That's really what we're trying to figure out, and that we can do, while we're traveling.
Well, you definitely have to read that book. And then when you get this amazing idea, you need to call me.
Yeah. I'm a much better person at, and I just know this about me. I used to think, man, I'm this cool entrepreneur guy, but I'm not. I'm not the kind of guy who can come up with what that is.
Mm-hmm.
But I am the guy that if you come up with something similar, that I can make it better. That's what I figured out my strength is.
Yeah, nice.
And so that's why I always try to look at other industries about what they do and how they do things, and then apply that to our industry. I think that's my strength.
Yeah, I would believe that. So talking about that, let's talk a little bit, Royce, if you don't mind, about like what are some of the systems that need to be automated? Like if you had to say these are like the top 3, 4, 5 systems that need to be better than what you're doing right now.
So let's just start at the beginning, which is what we spend a lot of time talking about, which is hiring. Okay. So, and the way to think about that, Liz, is, what are the pain points in your business? And there's no cleaning person, going to come up and say that hiring is not one of the pain points.
Right.
And the way that we all traditionally have hired people is we put an ad on Indeed or on Craigslist or whatever. You run an ad and you get just deluged with all of these different applications. And then you spend, 3 days sorting through those and trying to figure out who the best people are and things like that. And then you need to call them or send them an email maybe next and try to set up a time where you can talk. And then you need to call them or have them come in the office. And, typically it's very mixed results. You're going to only reach a certain number of the people, or, you hear people say all the time, I had 10 interviews scheduled and 1 or 2 people showed up.
Right.
And so we automated that. All right. And so what hiring looks like for us is we run the same ad, and whether it's Indeed or Craigslist, I don't really care what goes into the top of the funnel. Okay. Mm-hmm. But once they get into the funnel, our first interview is it's automated. It's a website. And so you go through and you do the interview, and we ask you questions that we have sort of predetermined and reverse engineered and said, if you answer this question wrong or whatever, then you probably are not going to enjoy this job. You're not going to be a good fit. Good example is if you tell me that you are allergic to dogs, okay, probably not a good fit. Yeah. If you're scared of pets, if you're scared of dogs, probably not a good fit.
Probably not going to be happy here.
You won't see it there. So what will happen is the first part of the application is 2 questions. It's just, you're just going to fill out 2 questions. Okay. And then, because what I want you to do is I want you to have to jump through some hurdles. So what's going to happen is you're going to apply for this job. And then, and in that ad, it tells you, if you go back to the ad there, Tom, it tells you in red, what's it say in red?
You must click on the link in the email to complete the application process.
Okay. So what I'm going to do is this actually, if you apply for this job, there's 2 questions. First one is, why do you want to work here? Second one is, what's your phone number? And is this a good number for you? Okay. That's really all there is. Okay. And because all I'm interested in doing is sort of like the whole drip marketing, digital marketing standpoint, I'm just going to ask you a couple of questions to get you in the top of the funnel. Okay. I want to get as many people in the funnel as I can. And then I'm going to put you through this other website. Now, only 70% of the people that do this they're going to open this other page up. They're going to actually follow the directions and open up that link and go do my job information center. That's what I think what we call it, right? Yeah. And again, like digital marketing, I'm a marketing guy. So like digital marketing, for every bit of information you give me, I'm going to give you some information. Okay. I have people tell me all the time, they said, I loved applying for your job because I felt like I really learned a lot about what the job was going to be like. Okay. So instead of saying, hey, can you be here at 8:30 in the morning? Okay. I ask the same question, but the way that we say it is typically our day starts at 8:30 in the morning. When you come to the office, you will assist your team in getting the equipment ready, making sure that you have everything that you need, and getting it loaded into the supervisor's vehicle. Are you available to work every day at 8:30? Okay. So they're giving me that information, but I've given them a lot of value back. I told them why that was important. Right. And I do this with about 20 different questions. And then at the end of that, if you've answered all of the questions in a way that we think you're a good fit, then we're going to just let you schedule a telephone interview at that point. Okay. Now, the advantage to that, and let's talk about DEFCON 1 or whatever Derek calls it. You guys call it. At that
DEFCON
point,
5.
DEFCON 5. Okay, DEFCON 5. We do get into DEFCON 5, and we have an automation that creates a spreadsheet for everybody that applies. And if we need to, we go down through that spreadsheet. It highlights the questions that were wrong. And it says, I know that they said that they've only worked at their last job for a year, and our normal requirement says 2 years, but I need somebody who can fog a mirror tomorrow. So yes, we'll go ahead and call them and see if we can get an interview set up with them. Okay. So we still have a manual process if we need to do it, and we have done it lately.
Well, there's a way to deal with things that are negotiable in the right circumstances.
But in a perfect world, our schedule fills up with all these people that answer the questions the way that we want them to answer them. Yeah. Then they set their own interview time. I think that is key to this. So rarely do we not talk to somebody when we call them. I think even a better step, if the market was better, you could have them call you, and so we use Calendly for that. And so it's a tool that you can use. It's already set up for all that. And then we call them, we do the interview, everything goes well. Then we say, hey, we'd love to do another interview with you. And we don't necessarily set that interview up right then. What we say is, I'm going to send you another email, just like you got before, and just choose what works out well for you for your in-person interview, for instance. And they can go in and pick their time again. If you got to think about where people are at. Okay. I need a job. I need a job really bad. I get a phone call out of the blue from this company, and they say, hey, I'd like to talk to you about a job. How's 3 o'clock tomorrow work for you? What is my answer straight out of my mouth? I need a job. Yeah, that works great. I'll be there 3 o'clock. Right. Then I hang up the phone with you and I go, I got to find a babysitter because somebody's got to pick up my child at 3 o'clock. And it's got to be me. And if I can't find that babysitter, I don't come to your interview. As much as I needed to, I can't do it. But
as you wanted to.
Huh?
As much as you might have wanted to.
That's right. I wanted to, but I'm going to take care of my child, right? So nothing wrong with that. What's wrong is the system. So instead, had I let you choose what would be your best time to interview, and you would have went in and said, I'm available at 1 o'clock. I've got to get my interview out of the way because at 3 o'clock, I got to pick up my child from school. You show up to that interview. So we don't have a lot of no-shows, because everybody's, so you got to think about what we're doing. We're pre-qualifying you. We're giving you a couple of hurdles to jump through. We're letting you choose your interview times. And then, we go from there. So, so those people make really great candidates. The second thing that we automate is, and this is an idea that, I blatantly ripped off from Mark, but
you made it better. That's what Mark says.
Well, that's debatable, but then we go ahead and we train you. Now we have a different business model. So we train you, we do the orientation, and we do everything that you need to know to go out and start cleaning the first day. And we work in teams. So we teach you how to clean a bathroom. You're not going to be perfect, but you don't have to sit in a conference room for a day and get trained. You can get trained in the field. And that, again, does a couple things. One is it pre-qualifies the people that we thought would be a good hire, because now they've got to go through 5 hours worth of training. Everybody doesn't complete that, but about 70% of them complete it. Maybe 80% of them complete it.
Nice.
We pay them for that. Okay, so we pay them for 4 or 5 hours, ever how long it takes them to do it, and then we don't have very many people show up on day one. And we used to do training, have a class of 4 people. At lunch, 2 people never came back. Because they didn't understand what the business was. In this way, they understand what the business is. They understand what a day looks like. We've told them that all along from the very beginning. And so all of that's automated, so that, there's a couple of manual steps in there. We actually have to send it, but I could probably think about it and figure out how to automate that. And so by the time they show up for the first day, they are equipped they know what to wear. They've bought their uniform. They know that they have to wear non-slip shoes. They know all the safety stuff. They know what our COVID procedures are. They know that, that we follow the CARES Act, and we're going to take care of them if there's any issues and all that kind of stuff. And so they come to work, and they go out in the field day one, and it, I think we hire better people when we're able to do that.
Yeah.
So you pay them. This is work that they're doing before they show up day one, but you pay them for a certain number of hours for all this work they did before showing up.
Yeah, and I don't believe you have to do that.
Right.
There's actually something in the labor law that says if you're training somebody, and the term that they actually use is something like a technical type training, like a technical school would do. So if you provide training that's transferable to other businesses, then you don't have to pay for that if you don't want to. Right. But that's not in our value system. We want to pay for people for the work that they complete. I don't think there's anything wrong with it either way. That's just the decision that we've made.
They have to show up the first day, though.
to get paid?
Yeah, if they don't show up, they don't get paid.
That's possible. Yeah, but that's definitely possible.
That's awesome. I know. I believe Matt Ricketts is doing that. I know several companies that are doing it.
Yeah. So, that's something that I think that came out of COVID that is something that's going to be around for a long time. I think we're all going to continue to do those types of things.
I noticed that since the whole idea is to talk about, automation in your maid service, we talked about Nice Job is like reputation management software, giving reviews. I noticed that you're using Responsive to do your quoting.
Right.
Candidly, this is the tool you use to allow people to schedule their interviews.
Right.
Notice that you're using Bamboo HR, managing your onboard. I don't know if it's onboarding, but at least the applicant, tracking part of it.
Right, and the onboarding as well.
So this pre-training, is that, or the pre-employment training, if you will, is that executed through Bamboo, or is there some other piece of software you're using?
So what you were actually in when you were on the website looking at the job, that was through Bamboo. Mm-hmm. But that's actually Bamboo. So you're outside of my website at that point.
Right.
Okay. But the training is actually done through Trainial.
So you're on that platform as well.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know anybody that's using anything besides Trainwell anymore. We did see a bunch of people that were using the Facebook training and I can't even remember some of the other platforms, but Trainwell must just be super easy because everybody's using it now.
Very easy, especially it was a little bit of a challenge on doing the videos. It just had a lot of steps because they don't host videos, so you'd have to host them somewhere else, and we were hosting on YouTube, and that's just what I knew. But once we moved to Loom for all the hosting, it's just a lot easier. And actually, one of the cool things that's come out of this is we've done all of our CSR training for this. So we're actually building a customer care business model, and I don't want to have a lot of customers for it. And there's some criteria that I want to look for the kind of customers that we want. But but we want to offer that as a service.
All right, so we are running out of time, and you know what Mark Baker likes to really hear you say, Tom. So go ahead, hit it now.
We're approaching the top of the hour here. So
Yeah. So, Royce, here's what I have. These are the things so far that they got to get automated. See if you can give me just a couple more. The first one is hiring. Second one is training. What would you recommend? I give them at least your top three.
Yeah. So the other thing that I absolutely despise doing, and you got to remember, I was the CSR for a long time, right?
Yeah.
So what I despise doing, which makes no sense at all because it's money, is I hate entering all the customer data. Okay. So, and there's no need to do that. I mean, I don't even care if you're using a website, a web form. Okay. But you can capture that data at that point in time and populate all of the databases that you need. So for instance, when you go into Responsibid and you give us your contact information,
yeah,
that populates our texting software. It populates our marketing software. It populates our field service management software. It populates our customer service software. It populates everything, and does a couple things. One is it keeps it all consistent, so it's all done the same way. Number two, I don't make spelling errors, or I don't make errors because I didn't understand that you said Shenandoah Street, and I didn't know what that was. Not that that's ever happened, but you're entering all of your own information, and that's just and there's a lot of different ways you can do it. But we use Zapier for a lot of it to zap the data back and forth. But that's another thing that we have automated. And the nice thing about that is, let's just say that you go fill out a web form, which for us is Responsibid, and then you text us, a week later, right?
Yeah.
When that text comes in, I know it was Liz Trotter. It's not area code 619,
Right.
It's not that. It's Liz Trotter because
Nice.
all of her contact information has been put into the database.
Okay,
That's
Royce,
just
what texting software are you using?
I've actually used several different texting softwares. The one I'm currently using is called TextLine. It actually, I have a love-hate with TextLine. I'm gonna give you my favorite one. Hang on one second. I used a company called Haymarket, Heymarket. I would actually recommend that for most people. TextLine though is it's got an API connection into the customer care software that I'm using. So
Zapier is the tool you're using to make everything talk to everything?
Unless there's an API.
Right. Okay.
So you gave me all of this when you did the last presentation. I don't know if you can see my little list here. Yeah, it says Haymarket, Royce Ard, or TextLine, and then Calendly, and then Trainual after that. These are things you have to have. If you don't have everything integrated into your scheduling program, you got to have this stuff. I was like, wow.
And it's, a lot of that stuff is not really expensive. I think Calendly is probably like $10 a month,
It's super cheap. Yeah.
But it really creates that system. You'll use it for a lot of other things as well.
Royce, thank you.
I enjoyed it. We didn't talk that much about automation. I got to talk about other stuff. But.
Well, that's what we're all about.
Mark, didn't this happen to us yesterday?
Yeah.
But we still get some info out there, so we're still good.
This is the way we roll. We take a topic and we go where it wants to lead us. And this was excellent. I think that there's some good stuff. There's a lot of platforms out there, and just casually getting an understanding of how you can take a bunch of SaaS type applications and cobble them together in a way where you're going to be running your business from an RV, wherever you want to be. So
Airbnb somewhere. But hey, look, I got a minute. So I just want to tell you guys, thank you. I know that I've popped in on a few of these and gotten some good information. I got a lot of it during sort of the real crisis point in COVID. And I really appreciate you guys having the dedication to do this. There's nothing in the world that I would want to do that I had to be at the same place every day for an hour. I would make that like 3 days. Cleaning business today would be cleaning business next week. So I really appreciate you guys' dedication to the industry there, and Liz. I mean, there was early on is when we were looking for ways to train our employees. I mean, I had a lot of Maid Whisperer videos that we used. So I really appreciate you guys, getting that information out there to the industry at a real affordable price point, so that when we were, we were in the valley of despair, that we were able to afford it, So thank you guys. I really appreciate everything you do for the industry.
Well, we love to do it. We're all trying to work together for the same thing, right? So professionalizing this industry is not an easy task. We all got to get on it.
One bite at a time. Thanks.
That's right.
Tomorrow is deal day. You guys know the drill. You're going to hear a 4-minute pitch from a number of different vendors. It is a pitch fest, buyer beware, but it's fun, it's rapid, and at the end of it, you'll have like 48 hours to get in on some really cool deals that you're not going to find anywhere else. Thursday, we have a secret guest for On the Spot, and we know she's a she, because we learned that yesterday, right?
No, she's a she, yes. And now we'll tell you that, I had a really good one, and now I can't remember it. All right. I'll have to give you guys a really good one tomorrow. Today's clue is that she operates multiple businesses, and none of them from her are on site. Everything's off site. All right.
Can I guess? Can I guess who it is?
You can say initials.
MW.
That might be close. That might be close.
Yeah.
And
that would be an excellent one to do. So
I do also want to say, y'all, for everybody, we're really late. We have a lot of good deals coming up tomorrow, more than I think we normally do. So everybody be ready.
We'll see you guys tomorrow at 5 o'clock Eastern. Take care. Thanks again, Royce.
Yeah,
Bye,
thank
y'all.
you.